addition to using A Gentle Feast as our core curriculum, I also use classical conversations. So I have to talk about that a little bit. I've shared a lot of my blog, but we did 2 years of classical conversations. We got cycle 2 and cycle 3 in before I took a year-long break. I became a tutor in cycle 3. I had a younger daughter, became a little bit chaotic. I realized that I needed to be home more than we were. I didn't want to be out of the house 2 almost full days once you're done with that community day. And while I love classical conversations and I love the classical learning style, I realized very quickly after listening to so many podcasts and reading Charlotte Mason's volumes that I was gearing towards that philosophy more. So after taking a year-long break from the music, the history sentence, and the Latin and everything, I have actually come back full circle and I feel really, really good about it. So we're not in a community, but something I have done is I found a lot of appreciation for particularly the history sentences and the geography, just having that, not rote memory, so that's kind of why I went away from it, but just having that familiarization I think is really beneficial. And it has been for me as an adult, and it has been particularly for my son because he knows these geography terms and he feels excited when he knows them and he can share that he knows them. And that's been really rewarding for me as a parent. So we're now in cycle 2 again. I have my volume, what is it? I don't know, 5th edition, I think. And I have, and we do this just once a week. We review the previous week, and then we do this present week. And what we do is I downloaded these from an Etsy. I bought these from an Etsy, awesome Etsy seller. And so I really highly recommend it. I'm gonna link it below. But she has these awesome books of beautiful artwork that relate to each of the weeks. So I'm just gonna go to just week 1. So you can see, you can write in the history timeline, which we don't do. We just go through the cards and then just call it a day. I also don't do the English with my kids because they're so young. That's not a priority for me. Latin, OST, mustis, and so we all know that song. And then geography, they can color coordinate and color something, physically color something, and that is really nice. Even for my son, he'll begrudgingly color. And then for the history sentence, here we are. Charlemagne is being crowned Holy Roman Emperor of Europe by Pope Leo. So this is just, I think, more hands-on for my kids. They really have been enjoying this. So in addition to this, for the history sentences, I've written in, you can see my chicken scratch, and I've shared all of this on my blog, living books that can relate to the history sentence, which I think are so valuable. And there were 3 books that we use for that, which I will share with you in just a minute. So we read 1 chapter, or sometimes for the 100 Years' War, it was 10 chapters of Our Island Story. And we read this together, and then for the science, it's a really beautiful picture that they can color. And then lastly, a math wheel when you're learning your multiplication facts, and it's gonna go into measuring. So I just love something tangible for them to do. And we do this during morning meeting just once a week, and all the kids love it. They love that we're listening as a review of last week, and then we do this week. So that's how we use classical conversations really simply in our home. So the 3 living books that I recommend as spine volumes for classical conversations are Our Island Story by H.E. Marshall, Henrietta Marshall, A Child's History of the World by Hillier, and A Child's First Book of American History by Myers. So these are so wonderful. Just show you a minute for Myers. I wrote a whole post on this. You can see insides. Our Island Story is what we're focusing now because, of course, cycle 2 has British history as the core of it. There are pretty illustrations in here as well. But that's the core of what we're reading, and the kids love these stories. I can't recommend this book more highly. This living text by Henrietta Marshall. She went by the pen name H.E. Marshall. She has written some of the most beautiful stories based on the British history, starting from Roman times all the way up through Queen Victoria. And then A Child's History of the World by Hillier is another really beautiful classic that goes through ancient through modern history. And we like to look through this. This is a really good one for cycle 1. And cycle 3, of course, with the American History book by Myers. So that's what we do for classical conversations as a whole. I love the geography, I love the history, I love the community aspect if you have one close to you. But the reason we do this is we just have an added supplement. And the way that I kind of rectify that in my mind is that even though it's not American history, which is what Charlotte Mason recommends, always American history first, I think just exposure of the child to different historical events, to different geography, alongside these really beautiful books that they have now, my kids in particular have really enjoyed them. So I think, again, taking each child where they are and knowing what each child wants, and this is what's working with us or for us right now.